When I was 18 years old, I was involved in a motor vehicle accident, an incident that altered and shaped my life forever. One night I decided to go out with friends. We wanted to go to the motor vehicle races. It was cold, it was rainy, the wind was blowing. It was a typical winter's night. After about an hour, we decided that it's just too cold. We want to cut our night short and go home. And that's what we did. On our way home, we drove on a highway. It is quiet, it is dark, there's not a lot of vehicles, but this is the road we need to go to get back to town. And after a while, I realized that we are being tailgated. And we are being tailgated in an aggressive way. There is a vehicle behind us, and the vehicle is driving so close to us, and the vehicle has its headlights shining on us. And I could see the reflection of these headlights in our rear view mirror. And I recognized the vehicle. It was a vehicle that I saw just prior at the racing event. But we were not in town yet, so we were not going to stop. It's cold, it's wet, it's dark, it's rainy. We are heading for town. And before I could realize anything, before I could think, before I could speak, our vehicle just flipped like that. And it rolled, and it rolled, and it rolled. It rolled 3 times. Fell on top of me and flung me meters away. And then it stopped. I was lying in a ditch, far away from the wreckage. And as I laid there, someone came to me and said, "Rwanda, lie still, you've been in an accident." And that's what I did. I laid there waiting for help, but help never arrived. What arrived was something so devastating that it took me years to understand and make peace with. First, being left on the accident scene by someone you know, and then scavengers arrived, robbers. They came for their own gain, and they stole from the wreckage. They stole cell phones, they stole handbags, they stole ID books, they stole anything that would bring them financial gain. And once again, I was left on the accident scene. When help eventually arrived, the paramedics were able to treat my friend and lift him off to a hospital. But unfortunately, I was not visible. The ditch where I was in was far away, and there was no way for anybody to determine that there is 2 victims in the vehicle. If there had been handbags, if there had been cell phones, if there had been ID books, any type of identifying item, they would have searched for me. But unfortunately, there was nothing. Everything was stolen. The paramedics informed the tow truck drivers that when they have time, they can come and clear the wreckage. And after a while, they came. The vehicle that we drove in was a white vehicle. Therefore, the wreckage was a lot of white metal and black metal. And as they started cleaning the wreckage, they saw a white piece of metal lying meters away. And when they approached, they found that it was me. It was not a piece of metal or wreckage. It was a second victim. I had been lying there for 2 hours on that accident scene. Paramedics was called back and they attended to me, but I was so critically injured and my life was ending. I don't have a lot of time left. And I was rushed to the nearest hospital. It was about 10 minutes away. And when I got to that hospital, I laid in that ER room on a stretcher for a further 2 hours. There was no doctors to treat me that night. And the severity of my injuries, they did not have the equipment to treat somebody with such severe injuries. And after a while, the paramedic that took me to this hospital came back. He wanted to see how I'm doing. And he found me still where he left me. He spoke to my parents. They took my vitals and he told my parents, she has 15 minutes to live. She needs medical attention now. And the decision was made to put me back into the ambulance and now transport me to a private hospital. At the private hospital, my parents had to give a deposit because I had no medical aid. And the deposit to treat me was so large. But still my parents phoned everybody and they tried to get as much money as possible so that they can at least pay the deposit so that the doctors can start working on me. But the doctors bluntly told my parents that this is a business and your daughter's treatment is more than $1 million. She will not survive her injuries. They encouraged my parents to stop looking for money and spend time with me while they still have the time. The doctors were adamant that I will not survive my injuries. My parents refused this statement and they kept on getting money from friends, from family, everybody, 1,000 here, 2,000 there, 500 here, whatever they could get. But by the next day, 1 o'clock, there was still not enough money. I had been lying in the ER room once again without treatment. I was cleaned of debris and blood was clean. So I was clean. My body was clean. Some of my wounds were cleaned, but there was no medical treatment for my injuries. And 1 o'clock, exactly 12 hours after the accident, my parents made a decision to take me 45 minutes away to an academic hospital. There was no choice. I was going to die. So it's either we leave our daughter here or we take the risk and we drive her knowing that I would most probably not make the ride. And that was the decision, to take me to an academic hospital. 12 hours after the accident. When I arrived at the hospital, the doctors were shocked. They knew that there was a critical patient, but they did not understand how critical. I was at that hospital 4 minutes, and then I died. I made that hospital ride by 4 minutes. The doctors all ran to get all these equipment that they can put on me, lung machines and life support and everything that they can do just to keep me alive so that they can work with me. And I was put on life support and a lung machine, and I had all these equipment that helped me breathe, that helped my heart beat. And I received blood for the first time in 12 hours. Bleeding on the accident scene left me without blood. I bled out just about every ounce of blood that I had. Now they gave me blood. I'm on a life support system and I'm fighting for my life. The first time in 12 hours, I had something to help me. I had life support. For the first time in 12 hours, I'm no longer fighting alone. I have machines helping me, fighting with me. I was in a coma for a while. And when I woke up out of that coma, I was exposed to my body, my injuries, and what happened to me. And it was explained to me that I laid on the accident scene for 2 hours without help. During that time, I had collapsed lungs, but I still managed to breathe. And then I went on a further hours and hours and hours, different hospitals, trying to get my life saved. I have so many scars that I now have to deal with. I wake up in the hospital, I have no hair, my hips are broken, my pelvis is broken, my pubic bone is broken, my ankle is so severely broken and torn off that the foot and the leg they're not connected. There's no muscle connecting them. And it had to be reattached. I had broken forearms, I had a broken neck, I had a broken top vertebra, I had a broken lower back, and I had 4 open wound fractures on my skull. And then I learned that my lungs collapsed and I needed the life support and that I was in a coma. And as I woke up out of that coma and that life support, and I now started realizing, okay, this is what happened to me, and I have all these injuries, and I am devastated, and I remember something. And that is that while I was on the accident scene, I was lying in heavenly places. And while I'm in heavenly places, all I can see in front of me is silky white. When I look to the left, I see silky white. When I look to the right, I see silky white. When I look in front of me, all I can see around me is this silky, pure white light. And I'm laying on top of something. And it's not a bed. It's not something that we have on earth. But I'm definitely laying on something. And I realized, but I'm supposed to be in pain. And I'm not in pain. And I realized, but should I not be able to see the wreckage and the accident scene? But I don't see it. I'm looking, I'm searching, I can't see it. It's pearly white. And I realized, but am I not supposed to feel the blood, see the blood, smell the blood around me? But there's no blood. I know I'm supposed to be in pain, but there's no pain. The only thing I knew is I was not allowed to get up. I was to lie down. I can look around, I can move my body. I'm just not allowed to get up. For 12 hours, I was without medical help. I was abandoned 3 times. I was left to die. And one person showed up. Jesus showed up. Everybody else that showed up had their own personal gain. And they left me on the accident scene. But God showed up. And He took me from that accident scene. And He placed me in heavenly places. He kept me calm. He kept me without pain. He kept me breathing. He kept me alive for 12 hours until I got to the academic hospital where my heart stopped and I stopped breathing. God kept me alive long enough for me to reach a 3rd hospital who was willing to put me on life support. Today, I do have pain. Today, I have scars and a broken body. I have screws and plates in my hips, in my pelvis, in my arms. I am bodily disabled. I am not a paraplegic, but I am bodily disabled. I can still walk, but I walk different. I can still talk, but I talk different. When the doctors and the surgeons told me I would never walk again in my life, I am bodily disabled, I told them, you do not know the God I serve. You cannot comprehend the God I serve. I was in heavenly places. I was kept alive. And now you tell me I'll never walk again. They told me I will never have children in my life. They told me that I will never work in my life. I am medically incapable of working. But I told those doctors and those surgeons that if you can understand and comprehend the God I serve, you would not speak like that. Because I am telling you now, I will walk out of here. You will see me walk out of here on my 2 feet. Because you do not understand the God I serve. And you do not know what He's already done for me. He did not save me and kept me alive for 12 hours just so that I can walk out of this hospital a wreckage. Broken. God would not save me for that type of life. And that's what I did. 3 days after I got the steels and the plates in my hips, I started speaking to the nurses. Bring me a chair, bring me this, bring me that, bring me crutches, let us try, stand next to me. Naughty, that's what I was. I was 18. I was naughty. But being that young and being that innocent really helped me to be bold at that stage in my life. I ended up walking out of that hospital on my own 2 feet. I had crutches. I had staples in my forehead, in my skull, on my hips, my arms, my feet. But I still managed to walk out of that hospital with crutches. It was painful, but I walked out of that hospital. I was labeled the 6th worst patient ever to survive her injuries. at Groote Schuur Hospital. That was my label when I walked out of there. I was the 6th worst patient ever to be admitted to Groote Schuur and to survive her injuries. And that title I wear with courage and grace. And I'm proud of that because I know who saved me. I know who breathed breath into me while I was laying on the accident scene with collapsed lungs. I know who made me walk again. I know who saved my life. And that's Jesus Christ. Nobody else. Everybody else left me. They deserted me. But God showed up. The great I am. The God above all gods. The one and the only. He showed up. He took me from the accident scene and he said, "My child, you lie down. Don't get up. You lie down here. No pain. No anxiety. No scaredness." God showed up for me. And today, my life is a testament to God. My life is made to worship Him. I breathe to worship Him. I walk every day with my 2 feet to honor Him. I speak every day so that I can be a vessel used by Him. Yes, I have pain. Yes, I had depression. I've had PTSD. I have had to deal with the loss of a friend. I had to deal with survivor's guilt. But at the end of the day, everything that I went through was God-given. Not the accident, not what happened to me, but how God impacted my life thereafter. The courage, the boldness that He gave me, I now use it to His glory and His honor. There is nothing anybody can do to me, because my God is greater than those.